All right. Wonder if I can change in the go. No, it's locked. All right, guys. Well, Tony, I've been here in Nicaragua for a while now, about 4 years. I've only left for border runs. Other than that, I've been here the entire time. I'll give my screen a little wipe, see if that helps with the video for you. No, it didn't. Today was the first day I did a shave. Long time. New look for me. Merry Christmas, Feliz Navidad. It's the 24th here. Some people celebrate Christmas in Central America on the 24th. Some people celebrate it on the 25th. It's been an amazing year. I've just had pneumonia the past like 4 or 5 days. I've been on antibiotics, and which was the first time I paid to go to a private clinic in Nicaragua. I normally just go to the free clinic and they take care of me. I just went late in the day and there were so many people there. I was like, I'm gonna go to the paid clinic. So I went, and he charged me 20 bucks. Dr. Hernandez, he saved Gabriel's life a couple of times. So I went and saw him. And if you don't know Gabriel, Gabriel's the builder with me, a partner in Radpad, and we do a lot of stuff together, and he always gets hurt. He doesn't always get hurt, but he quite often gets hurt. Or yes, some way affected by the natural resources we work with here in Nicaragua. So last time he got an infection from wood or something, and yeah, he almost lost his hand, and then his arm, and then his life. So we went and saw the doctor, and they got him all fixed up. So I went and saw him, and he was like, "Whoa, yeah, you're pretty fucked, buddy." So he got me 3 antibiotics. So I spent 20 bucks at that, and then I wound up getting the antibiotics and everything. It was like $35, and sometimes the doctors, they like to spend the money like it's, you know, like you got all the money in the world. So he had me buy a bunch of vitamin C as well, which was like 400 Cordobas. I didn't need that. I just got some fruit. And then I also returned a few other things, like some syrups that he got me for like sore throat. It's like, dude, I value my my dinero more than my sore throat, but I'll take the antibiotics. So overall, the whole process was 40 bucks to get cured from pneumonia in Nicaragua. And it's taken about 4 days. 3 days I was knocked out in bed, just sitting there, just not getting out. But I'm all better now. I'm ready to rock. I've had a lot of time to think about what's happened this year. It's been an amazing year. Basically, just a little over a year ago, Radpad got started. Radpad is the building company where we build houses. And so the last year has been a real journey on that. So talking about kind of give you guys a look into buying cars, motorcycles, selling cars, motorcycles, employees, starting a company, that sort of stuff. That's what we'll talk about. So I'll get going here. The first thing is like buying a motorcycle. What I used to do is I had like a guy, somebody that I trusted. I'd say, "Hey, will you be the register on my motorbike?" And then we go down, we buy it in his name. We do a bill of sales. We did all these tricks to try and make it so it was like my motorcycle. But at the end of the day, really, it's his motorcycle. So you do it with somebody you trust that way, and that's kind of like the gringo easy way of doing things. Yeah, but it's not that easy. It's easy in the beginning, but it's hard in the end, and especially if you have a falling out with that person, it can be really challenging. So what I recommend you do is you just start up something called an SA. An SA is like a LLC in the States or an LLP in Canada. It's an incorporation, and there's a lot of advantages to having one. Being a foreigner, you're not allowed to own a car, but you're allowed to own a SA that can own a car. So you can buy your car through your SA. Your SA is going to cost you a little bit of money to set up. It can cost between 600 and 2,000 bucks, really. Those are kind of cheapest I've ever seen is 600. And now that I know how to do it, it's not as challenging as the first time. But I definitely go ahead and find a way to get the money and pay somebody really smart and good to set it up the first time, and really ask a lot of questions the whole time so that you really learn. Kind of use the payment as school for yourself, so you can go to school while you pay to get the job done. Once you know how to do an SA, then the next time you can hire the less expensive guy. He'll do a fine job. Less expensive person, sorry about that. and that person will do a fine job as long as you're, crossing their T's and dotting their I's for them. So once you got your SA set up, then get a business license, I would suggest. And buy a car is the first thing I would do. Motorcycles are great, but they're not that great in windy season, dry season, or wet season. So that's most of the seasons. Wet season just sucks on motorbikes because it rains so hard for such short periods of time. So you can go out on your bike and be all sunny, and then boom, it dumps on you, and you're soaking and you get cold. And being cold and wet outside is a good way to get pneumonia, so don't do that. So having a car is great. So having a motorcycle is cool for short little trips, boom, 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 easy to move around, parking simple, and I love them, they're great and they're cheap. When you're getting a motorcycle, don't think like a North American. You're not going to get like a 650 CBR, you're going to get like a 125 or a 150 or 250 even motorcycle. The reason is you're jumping on and off of these things so much. You're on dirt, you're on mud, you're on cobble, you're on piedra canteros, which can be slippery as hell with that green moss on them. And bikes fall over. They're easy to catch when they're a little bike, like a 150 or 250. When you get the bigger bikes, it's pretty challenging. I see people with those BMW Enduros, and they're just hating it because the trails are so different here. And get a small bike. If you can afford a Honda, get a Honda. I mean, that's the best thing you can possibly do. But that's going to run you like $6,000 for a good one. And you can get a pretty damn good Ray bar for like $2,000, brand new, 250, and it's going to work just fine. The Hennessy's or Genesees, those are pretty good too, and they're about the same price. You can get I think you can get a 200 for about $1,300, brand new. They run fine, they work great. There's really no problem with them. The only thing is they just don't last forever. They're all like cheaper Chinese manufacturers. I'd recommend getting the Honda if you can afford it, for sure. Raybar's fine, Genesee's fine. What's the other one? There's one from India that everybody seems to like a lot. The Volt or the... Can't remember the name. I almost got one myself. But my last bike that I had was by far my favorite. It's below a Honda, so it's not quite Honda quality, but it is really close. And it's called a Vento. It's designed in California and made in Mexico. It's totally different than the Chinese-made bikes. It runs a lot stronger. It feels a lot better. So when you get that motorbike, get your lawyer to set up your SA, and then buy the motorbike with your SA. And then your SA will own it. And it's easy if you sell your SA, there's tax advantages to it. So the next thing I do, once you find a lawyer that you like, get yourself an accountant. Because when you set up an SA, you're going to have to do accounting every month on it, and it's probably going to cost you about $150 a month to have your own solid accountant. I use JV's Consulting, Jackson, he's excellent. A lawyer, I use David, he's fantastic here in Rivas. They both speak English and Spanish, and they're like super hip to the way gringos think, and they kind of get the ideas pretty quick on what I'm trying to accomplish. So I recommend those guys for sure. Once you have a lawyer to set up your SA, have your accountant in there to do your monthly reporting. Then you can also buy your car on there. So get a car. I'd recommend getting a Toyota Hilux. Just like when people think Nicaragua is cheap to move to, it's not cheap at all to move here. And that idea is it's pretty crazy. Because, I mean, even if you just calculate the travel, like if you want to go visit family each year, like I haven't been able to leave in 4 years because I haven't been able to save enough money to actually leave. Living here is not cheap. Like, you can get a less expensive house to live in, I guess. I mean, besides Radpad, there's like most houses are built either out of brick, out of block, or some are built out of wood. But I mean, there's so many termites here. I would suggest not getting involved in a wood house, that's for sure. But if you do, that's awesome. And I'm sure that there's exceptions to every rule. So I'm sure that there are some wood builders that know how to make wood that the termites don't eat. And that's rad. But basically, you know, materials are materials, so you got to get the materials, and then labor. It's like, you know, some people say labor's cheaper here, but it's really actually been, for me, it's been more expensive. With labor laws, you have not cedulas. You have a lot to do, because to get labor that knows what they're doing, meaning they have a cedula, they have a driver's license, they have a vehicle, they have income, they have food, they have a house, they're not going to be cheap, you know? They're not going to be like, oh, I got him for I got a guy working for me for 500 Cordovas a day. Not if he has a house, a car, he pays taxes. If he's like a legitimate person in the building world, you're not going to find him for 500 cords a day. That's for sure. So what happens is, at least my experience was, I got the guys that didn't have all that set up, didn't have cars and stuff, and I wound up basically buying them transportation, getting their cedulas. They don't even have IDs, going through all that, driver's licenses, loans for motorcycles, gas, food, medical, all that stuff. It's like, it's pretty expensive, and it's very time consuming. It throws you off your game. So if you're coming to Nicaragua because it's cheaper, that's why I came. I came because I thought it was cheaper. I thought it was better weather, cheaper, and nice and safe, So, and then once I got here, I saw the opportunity, and I've committed completely to Nicaragua here. This is where I'm doing life. But if you're coming expecting cheaper, definitely get ready to change your lifestyle if you want cheaper, because it's available. But basically, houses cost what houses cost. Land isn't really that cheap. I mean, if you find land and you're like, wow, it's $10,000, it's like, oh, well, it needs a well. And the reason it's $10,000 is because the well's too expensive for the guy who owns the land to put the well on. So that well may be $30,000. And then you find out, oh, well, there's no electric there. Usually when you find a really good piece of land where you're like, wow, this is so inexpensive, it's because the development costs are so big. Like putting in a road, easy, you can easily spend $20,000 on putting in a driveway or a road. So developing the property can be very, very expensive, and it can make it, I'm just going to wait while it pauses here. It can make your build or whatever you're investing in become astronomically more expensive than what you anticipated. So that's what I learned. I learned that development is the most expensive part of the game. You've got the land purchasing, you've got the development, and you've got the building. And with the building, I put the marketing and sales of that together. And it looks like the landowner may buy the land and then double the sale, buy it for 25 and sell it for 50. It has lower risk because you own that land. There is risk if you don't know what you're doing. You got to go and do those title background checks from before Contra invasion here. So before the U.S. came into, after, once that was settled, that's when all the titles got all jacked up. Watch a video that I did with Johnny Cash on titles. Canadians investing in land in Nicaragua with clean titles, I think is the name of that video. And this guy just knows everything. He has been through the ringer on this. So making sure, if you're the land buyer, making sure that you really know that that title's clean, making sure that that title is in the location you think it is, that the survey has been done, GPS and modern, making sure that all the taxes have been paid. That can be very expensive if you don't have it right. People joke and say it's not expensive. We were just on a property that was $14,000 in back taxes, and that is a big, whoa, didn't see that coming, because everybody says taxes is like $10 or $100, and not all the time. So, making sure that all that's taken care of. Then if you're able to sell that property, so say you find a sweet piece of land and you want to subdivide it and sell it or whatever you want to do, that's one level of risk, and it's pretty low if you get the land clean. Then the next piece is putting that under your SA as well. and report your taxes on everything. Like, just do it as legitimate as possible. It's going to be your best and easiest way. And working with a builder. So the next is the builder, the guy who comes in and usually puts up a spec house and then commits to building all the other houses on the property. That guy can make money on whatever systems you have for building houses. If you have good systems and you can build them less expensive and deliver a equal or better quality product, then there's money in that business. And then last is developer, the guy who, develops the property with the landowner, that puts in the fences, the driveways, the septic, the electric, the fiber optics, the water, the well, landscaping, outdoor light, the whole works, pond features, whatever it is that you do to develop it to make it rad. That guy definitely has the biggest risk, but also the biggest return, because when those lots are subdivided by the developer can, if it goes as well as anticipated and all the lots sell, that developer can be stoked. So developing land is definitely something, and Radpad over the past year has realized that it's too big of a job for a builder to be the land buyer, the builder, and the developer and the marketer. So what we've done is we've taken Radpad and just made it the builder and the marketer, and that's our sweet spot there. So that's a bit about what I have to say about building in Nicaragua. Licensing and permitting and stuff is not as challenging as possible as one might think. Just follow the system and process. Go to the alcaldía, is what it's called, and say, this is a drawing that I did. Like, take some graph paper, mark it out how big the property is, put a little box on where you want to put your house and how big it's going to be, and bring it to them and ask, this is what I've got so far, what should I do next? And then they'll tell you, meet with this guy, he'll give you a more accurate drawing, and then we can issue you building permits. And just go through the steps. It doesn't take that long. It's pretty organized, has been my experience, especially in San Juan del Sur area, and the Tola area too has been pretty awesome. So that's been my experience so far building in Nicaragua. What else have I learned? Employees, I've learned so much about the culture of Nicaragua and the way that it works here. I love the culture, and if I were to say I love the people of Nicaragua, it'd be like, that's not true. I love some of the people in Nicaragua just like I love some of the people in Canada and some of the people in the United States, but like, not everybody, that's for sure. But what I've found is that here it's much more, you can do what's called the marshmallow test a lot more here, and I don't know if it would be the same. I feel that in Canada, if you were to offer somebody a marshmallow, a kid, say, hey, you want a marshmallow right now, you can eat it, or you wait 10 minutes and you can have two, I think you get a high portion of people that would say, I'll wait 2 minutes and get two. But around here, the experience has been, would you like to get paid for these items, or would you like 70% of the sales of them and you'll make 5 times your money? They would rather the cash right now. And that's a cultural difference that I've seen. And once I really came to accept that and move with it, it's been pretty cool. I get it. Like, the history, goes back into things just changing and constant change here, so that nothing lasts for too long. So it's a very much of a culture of like, get right now, and then we'll worry about later. So that's a difference in the culture that I've learned. It's also a willingness here in this culture that's very different. Like, I was just talking with a friend about getting a flat tire. It's almost like you can't drive by somebody with a flat tire. You pull over and help. In Canada and the US, sometimes, I had friends tell me that you stopped in the middle of the highway out in Canada and to help somebody. What if they would have, robbed you or something? I'm like, what? I just didn't even think about that. Here, that's not really a thought either. Like most people are more like me and they don't think about it. And they're like, well, if that person needs help, I'll stop and help them. So that the culture is much more willing to help. I've also seen, yeah, it's almost like this culture, some of the people that I've met would rather just help and not like commit to getting a job with you. And they'd rather just help for free than they would like get a job and actually have to do it, which is cool. It's just very different. Some other things that I've learned, let's see here. The border run. So I've been late on the border. A couple years ago, I was about 400 days late. And I was super scared. I was like, am I going to get kicked out of Nicaragua? And basically I went across the border. I presented my papers and they told me $1,200 and something in late fees. It's $3 a day. So I gave them the money and then they stamped my card and I left into Costa Rica, and then I turned around when I got to Costa Rica and then I came back into Nicaragua, and that was the end of it. So with the border runs, it seems to be very doable. I've done it so many times now that it's just a routine, and if I'm a day or two late or a week late or something, it's not the end of the world. That's why they have that fee there, $3 a day per person. And I know that can get expensive with a family, that's for sure. So if you're a family, and yeah, stay on time, stay on budget. But not that big of a deal. So the border run, there's a big conversation about residency versus doing the border run. And Costa Rica now has just changed their tourist visa to 180 days. So that's double what Nicaragua is. Nicaragua is 90 days. But it's not necessarily 90 days. So here's the way it works, and then I'll tell you how I do it. So the way it works is you enter Nicaragua and they give you 90 days where that visa is good and you can do whatever you want. You can work, you get a job, you just got to pay taxes. That visa, then you can go and you can take it to an inland place like in Managua or Rivas, and they give you 3 more 30-day extensions. So that means after your 90 days is up, you can go to Rivas or Managua and renew it, and they'll renew it for 30 days. And then you go back again in 30 days and again in 30 days, giving you a total of 180 days inside the country that you didn't have to leave with one visa. So I don't know if it's one or if it's actually technically 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 visas? I don't know. It's a bunch of them. But the 90 day and then the 30 days that you're allowed, 3 of those. What I do is I just go every 90 days because it's super simple. I go to Liberia, boom, boom, boom. You just park there, run across the border, run back. I got a guy there that helps me do it every time. It's just so much faster. He doesn't cut in the lines, but he brings you to the front of the lines. And then there's just never a problem with him. So I really like going with him. He's a great guy. His name is Guy. And he's like a real registered tourist assistant for the country of Nicaragua, which is great. So he runs me across the border. That's what I got to say about border runs. Residency now. So residency, if you apply for residency, and you can do that through retirement visa, you can do that through the hot one really is investment visa. So I'm going to go through investment visa right now with you so you know what that means. And this is from my experience. So we've done a bunch of interviews with different lawyers on this subject that you can dig up somewhere in the history of everything Nicaragua. And what's up, Joe? Has been your largest challenge since you have been here in Nicaragua? Ha! Largest challenge. Great question. My largest challenge was with Radpad. I had employees, and one of them decided to leave, and I didn't know at the time, but they get a cedula, so they get an amount of money paid. And since this person worked for me for over a year, and he quit right before Christmas, which was just recently, he wound up getting a month payment So $300 is what I paid him. I paid this person $300 a month. I gave him a house to live in, and I fed him breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I allowed him to use my motorbike, or have days off when his mom was sick, or brother, or sister, or daughter, or aunt, or brother, cousin, all of them, whenever anybody was sick, and paid for like his glasses when he needed glasses for reading, and his medical whenever sicknesses were on. So I treat him super good. But then he decided to quit. So he quit, and then gave me a paper saying I need to pay him 1 month pay, $300, Christmas pay, $300, and something else. But it was quite expensive. So I didn't have the money in reserve in Radpad. It was like, dude, we're entrepreneurs. We're running this thing. We're going hard. We don't have funds available for people who quit. Now I've learned. So the biggest challenge was coming up with the money for that. So what we did with our accountant was we said, all right, well, the law says we have to pay him in 10 days. I'm like, 10 days, that's real quick. And the accountant says, well, let's see if we write a letter that says, I'll give Tony 60 days to come up with the money, then he'll pay you in full. And then the employees signed that letter, no problem. And it was like, great, all right, we have 60 days to come up with the cash. So keep marketing, work on sales, because sales are what generate income for the business. And then 20 days into the 60 days, I got a letter from the government saying that I had to go to court because this employee has filed saying that I didn't pay him his money for quitting. So we go there and present, here's the letter he signed saying 60 days. We still have another 30 something days to give him the money. And they sided with us, and they said that you had to pay him all full by this date, or all of my shareholders' passports would be locked, so they wouldn't be allowed to leave the country, and our bank accounts would be frozen. So it was a very threatening letter. Like, I was like, whoa, this is serious. So I decided to sell everything that wasn't directly related to sales. So I did a big Facebook sale, like sold iPads, whatever I could sell that was like, dude, these aren't directly going to sales, they're out of here. Motorcycles, whatever I could sell. And I sold it. And the reason I went so big was because at that point I realized that and then I went ahead and I got the accountant to write a letter saying I accept the payment in full and we're done. So we got the money and we paid that guy off right away. And that made it so our passports weren't frozen and none of that bad shit happened. But that was the biggest challenge. But in that challenge, the blessing was I learned that I had to fire all of my employees, and I had to pay all their cedulas and their Christmas bonuses and everything right now, because I felt like I was held hostage a little bit. Sounds like there are many more benefits for the employees versus the employer. Need to be more mindful of the employee. This YouTube live is awesome. Well done. Hey, word up, bro. Thanks for saying all that. I'm really stoked. Yeah, so what I learned was, and this is in the culture of reward now rather than bigger reward later. So instantaneous, like, gratification is what it's about, kind of. So when I went through that process, then I fired everybody, and myself and Gabriel, partners, shareholders, right? We fired each other, and we said we won't take a cedula because we're shareholders, and like we think it's messed up if you quit to get paid for quitting. That seems so weird. So we fired everybody, and then what we did was we sold everything we could that wasn't directly related to sales. So I'd bought a lot of things to like empower the employees to make them look better at their job. Like, here, use these apps and this iPad and this microphone and all this stuff to make you look better as a video editor, to make our brand better. And I said, no, we'll sell everything. Motorcycles for people to ride, no, they're gone. We sold everything, and then we divided the cash up, and I wrote a letter to my employees, and I said, this is all the money I have. You're fired. You can take the money, please. then we're done with everything. And I, of course, had the accountant write this letter up professionally. So they all said yes, and they all took it, you know. And one of the guys that quit was like, he didn't want to be a burden or whatever. And it was like, wow, man, it's so hard for me to. It's so hard. It was such a hard situation for everybody, you know. Everybody, the whole thing was tough. But that's how I got rid of the bad culture. Because what happens, this is what happens, and I was like digging like into the depths of the problem here. And the problem is that an employee comes to work, they get better at their skill, and then another guy hires them and says, hey, come work for me, I'll pay you a little bit more because you have a skill. Makes sense? So the guy's like, cool, I'll go over and work for that guy for more money. I'll start today, and then I'll quit today. And then I need my my severance pay, my Christmas bonus, and my other little thing today or within 10 days. So what happens is they go from one job seamlessly to the next job. They get the increased pay of the next job because of what they learned in the last job. And then they get this bonus basically for quitting from their last employer that they quit on. So they actually never, they don't even blink an eye. It's like, boom, I'm making more money and I got this bonus. I'm gonna buy something with it. So that's how I knew I had to move from employment to contract worker. Now, there's a couple different ways of doing contract work or employee work. The employee work is a little bit tricky. I'm not going to get into that. It's none of my business. But if you find an accountant or a lawyer, you can talk to them about how to make it so that the employee gets their severance and their Christmas pay in their paycheck each month, so that if they do quit, they don't get anything, they just walk. And that's for employee retention, right, to keep your employees. But I don't know about that enough to talk about it. But what I'm doing is we realized that our business wasn't solid enough, and that was our problem. So that employees were, I noticed that Nika presidential election coming up. Is that going to create challenges from expats living in Nicaragua? Those are the only things I can't talk about, man. Anything to do with politics, I just don't touch them. I can't imagine it's going to be a problem. I know it's not a problem for me. I was here in the last election. I was downtown Managua in a car with no brakes going around the rotunda. There was nobody there. Nothing bad happening. It was fine. I even got McDonald's, and then I drove back by myself. And that was my experience of election day last time. So can't imagine it's going to be a problem here. No problem for asking, man. The other thing about employee going to what our problem was, though, was that we didn't have job descriptions that were so clear that the employee knew what they were doing. And if we did have job descriptions that were so clear that were like step by step, execute this, then we wouldn't have employees. We'd have contracts for people to work and do the contract. So what we did was we really looked at Radpad and we broke it down into the single company, which it is a marketing company and a building company. And we built Google Forms, online real-time forms. They're like cards, they're really cool. You just click the buttons to execute tasks. So the task is a contract. So building widgets or building walls is like steps. Here you do, click, 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 done. Then you get paid for that step. And we found that we can actually pay our employees, not our employees, our certified contract workers way more money than we could as if they were employees. And we don't have any of this severance or any of that stuff to deal with. So it was really a blessing in disguise. So the biggest challenge had the biggest reward and a very valuable solution, really implementing systems and process into Radpad as far as manufacturing and the video production and distribution of content, which I'm sure you haven't seen a lot recently because we're just starting to implement it. It's going to be amazing. I'm so excited to get started on that. So that was the biggest challenge. I hope that was a good enough answer. And that was definitely something that I learned this year. I'm just finishing learning it now. You know, just when that was happening, I think I got a bit stressed out and I got sick, and then I just plowed through it and I kept working, and then I got a little more sick and got this pneumonia, but now it's over and I'm back at it. I'm excited to be working in Nicaragua. It's an amazing place. I'm here because, you know, the temperature allows us to do things differently and find solutions for gigantic problems. You know, the biggest problem that I've identified worldwide is the disconnection between human beings and nature. And in Nicaragua or Central America. I haven't really been to Central America. I've just been in Nicaragua for 4 years. So I know Nicaragua pretty well. Not as well as I'd like to, but I know it pretty well. And this climate here is the key to being able to solve that problem of being disconnected from nature. So when we built Radpad, we started to solve the problem. We thought, you know, with everything Nicaragua, I've done so many different businesses here where I thought I found the problem. In the past, I built recording studios and was in the music industry as an audio engineer for most of my life. And then I was in the wine business, putting in vineyards, farming, being a winemaker, and selling and distributing wine, and then marketing wine. And when I got to Nicaragua, I was just blown away by the climate. It was like, wow, I don't need all those clothes. I don't need 5 different pairs of boots. You know, I need flip-flops, 2 pairs of shorts, 2 shirts, a hat, some underwear, and some socks, and a backpack, and I'm good to go. So just the cost of living, I started seeing like, wow, the opportunity to lower the cost of living is amazing here. And one of my favorite reads, Zig Ziglar, I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but he's amazing. And he says, money's not that important, but it's right up there with oxygen. And I couldn't agree more. Romance and finance are the 2 challenges that get triggered, you know, by living, I guess for me, living incorrectly. So reconnecting with nature, what better place to do it than Nicaragua? Because I started to see that the land opportunities were so affordable. If you know, make some lifestyle changes, life is so affordable here. And the weather is conducive to an affordable lifestyle. So how did I become so disconnected from nature? And a lot of it, you know, sparks from weather. So in Canada, I needed a house. What are the biggest economic adjustments you have noticed between Nicaragua and Canada? Has it been difficult to adjust to? Yeah, definitely difficult to adjust to. For me, it's something I've always wanted. I read a book about 20 years ago or 15 years ago called Radical Simplicity. And my time touring in a band, I really lived out of a suitcase, and I lived in an RV or, you know, a van, hotels and motels. And I found value in having an organized small amount of things that were efficient. So coming to Nicaragua, the biggest change and the biggest adjustment is probably not being able to live like I did in Canada, because you actually have to pay for what you have. Like, it's not a credit system. It's not a line of credit. It's not, let me better answer that. So it's been extremely difficult for some people to adjust to living in Nicaragua. If you want to live in Nicaragua and live economically completely different, I mean, I live on almost nothing. I live on $500 or less a month. And that's going from, I was making $10,000 a month as a marketer or winemaker or a CEO of a big juice company. And going from $10,000 a month and spending $11,000 a month to making $500 a month and not spending $500 a month is an amazing change. And a lot of that has to do with a few simple things. And they come back to climate. One of the biggest challenges is going to be from switching from packaged food to unpackaged food. Now, every kind of yoga, you know, guru, woke person out there is going to be like, oh, my dream is to eat unpackaged food. But the reality is, when you get here, no matter how yoga and like spiritually fit you are and stuff, it's like if you go anywhere in the world and you have a Coca-Cola or you have a McDonald's. the taste, the smell, the flavor, the brand, the feel of it, all that emotionally take you back to a place. Like a Coca-Cola takes me back to, childhood memories and like being with my dad and stuff, and it's like rad and makes me feel good. So if I'm in a new environment and I have a Coca-Cola, it's like boom. I haven't had a Coca-Cola in all of 2023. It's something of my past. But it's the emotional fix that I get. So when I get worried or scared, I pop a Coke and I'm like, boom, I feel like I'm back then. Or if I remember going to Amsterdam and I was overwhelmed the first time, like I ate some mushrooms and it was tripping out. And I went to the McDonald's and I got a veggie burger there, and it just took me right back to, the irony is it's a veggie burger, so I'd never had a veggie burger at a McDonald's anywhere else before, but I did. And just being in there just like made me calm down. It was like, okay, everything's fine. It's just a bunch of crazy people out here in Amsterdam running around. It's not what I'm used to, but I'm having this McDonald's moment and I'm feeling better. So when you come to Nicaragua, when I came to Nicaragua, sometimes it can be overwhelming because sometimes it's like there's no 4-lane highways, there's no stuff, there's no malls, there's none of that. There is in Managua. If you need that, you can get it, but it's different. So when you go to a store like La Colonia, you can go and buy packaged food, and you can get all that food that you're used to when you go to Save-On or wherever you shop in North America. And when you go in that store, it's even that like lame elevator music, and the air conditioning and the lighting and the products are all familiar. So it like emotionally makes you feel like it's gonna be okay. So the challenge is you get to Nicaragua and you start shopping like that and you start realizing, dude, it's actually more expensive to buy mac and cheese, whatever, like the brand that you like, at La Colonia than it was back in Save-On. So now you wind up start spending more money on food, and you'll quickly start seeing that everything will slowly trickle more to you. Then you'll be like, wow, I'm using more gas. Oh, my car is getting beaten up more. Everything's more and more. So the biggest challenge is going to a non-packaged food diet, And a lot of people are like plant-based or whatever the vegan hippie, the term word is right now. I don't know what it is anymore. I'm so disconnected. That's another thing, is to disconnect from there. So like I don't have TV. I haven't had TV in 2 years here for sure. I don't watch CNN or news or Fox or any of that stuff. Anything pops up on my Facebook feed, I just click snooze for 30 days, and I just don't let any of that in because it's so good, the marketing back there, it's so good that it creates these wants inside, and it's the wants that have wrecked my experience in Nicaragua. Needs are needs, but wants are like, I'm sitting here in nature, I'm totally connected, I'm feeling like calm and tranquilo, and great ideas are coming, and everything's going good, and then I have a want. It's like, ooh, I want a new iPhone watch. Why do I want an iPhone watch? Because I saw some stupid commercial that told me I wanted an iPhone watch, So I try not to watch the commercials. So unpackaged food is the first thing to stay away from, and that's the hardest adjustment in my experience. The next thing is going to be, again, the climate, the building. So even though things look less expensive. So you're like, wow, for $200,000, you can get a pretty sweet house in Nicaragua. And it'll be way better than any $200,000 house you can get in Canada, that's for sure. I'm talking, you got a swimming pool, you're close to the beach, you're awesome. The problem with that is that house most likely has not been made to be connected with nature. So the house building here, you're going to get brick, block, maybe like some cheap like Durarock stuff where they use insulation, and it's like drywall kind of stuff. Pooh gay. What's up? Gay? I'm gay? No. Maybe. I don't know. Hello. Right on, guys. But those are your kind of building choices. Now, with those houses, you're disconnected in many ways, and I'll try and do my best to explain how and why. So when you go inside the house, if you've got, say, brick walls, what happens is the brick is conflicting or fighting against the sun, It's fighting against the sound of outside. It's fighting against the wind of outside. Those are all nature. Sound, wind, temperature, light, all that. And that's all kind of like frequency. So I love sound frequencies. That's what I did most of my life. You know, in winemaking was using sound. I love sound frequencies. So you're getting a house here that is built to defy nature's sound frequencies, whether it be light, anything. It's all frequencies. So if you have a house that is fighting the sun all day, what happens is the house walls get hot, and then at night the hot walls cool down. But they don't like cool outside, they cool inside as well as outside. So then you want to run your AC. And then once you start running your AC, you find out that power isn't as inexpensive as you thought. Power is inexpensive if you're in the lowest bracket. If you're in a bracket, they do this for the general public that use ceiling fans, a couple of lights, and cell phone chargers. You use such a little amount of electricity that they don't charge you very much. It's like almost laughable. It's like $6 a month, $9 a month. You're like, this is amazing. This is awesome. But then once you run the AC for like one night and you're like, well, it's like 16 bucks. You're like, that's not bad. But then you're like, I'm gonna run it all the time. You jump into a new electricity bracket. And then you can get a bill that's like $250, and you're like, $250? What the? You know? And then if you were like me, I had a golf cart. I had air conditionings in each room. Each room costs about a lot. Put it that way. They say, oh, it's cheaper to put air conditioning in each room because then you only use it when you're using it. But if you have 3 people in 3 different bedrooms and you're using 3 air conditioners, it's not going to be cheap. So when you get into that big bracket, and I had a pool, my electricity bill one month was $800. Freaking crazy. I was like, what the, how did that happen? But again, that was like living luxury, super duper luxury. So when you buy a house here, if it's built the way that they traditionally build it, it's basically built to fight nature and separate us as much as possible. Why? So that when we're inside the house, it can be quiet. Why does it need to be quiet when you're inside? It's usually needs to be quiet so that you can turn the television on and let the television program you a little better. So you can hear it more, you can be more affected by the marketing and the messages that are put across, whether it be movies or TV or even YouTube, except for this, of course. It works better. So really, for it to be quiet and stuff, what happens then is you find when you go outside of your house, if you spend enough time, you go outside and you start getting a little bit peeved off, you know, like a little bit like, why is that monkey so loud? Or why is that car so loud? Or why is this not the way that I want it to be? Because you've been in a controlled environment. So what Radpad does is it basically said, well, what do we need to be comfortable in Nicaragua? The climate is so perfect. The prices can be so affordable when done right. What needs to be is shade, airflow, drainage, and everything to be made from readily available materials so that when they do break, you can get new ones. And if you have that recipe, ingredients in your recipe, then anything tastes good. It's like, it's amazing to sit in the shade in Nicaragua with a breeze, but it's not amazing to sit in the shade without a breeze. It's hot, it's humid, it's like, I don't like it. It's great to be with the breeze, but with no shade, it's hot, it's no good, I don't like it. It's great to be in the shade with a breeze, but if you're getting wet, it sucks, I hate it, you know? Even like things like drainage on the floor and mold and all that, you need to make sure you have airflow, drainage, shade, and readily available materials. So with that, we said, all right, so now let's build a house differently. And let's build it so that we're stay connected with nature, so that when we go out into the regular world that's not our little piece of land, wherever that might be, things don't bother us because we're used to the sounds of chickens and monkeys and wind and different lights, you know, bright in the morning, dark at night, moonlight, all the stuff that happens that these walls stop us from experiencing. So Radpad first focused on shade. So how do we make shade out of readily available materials? We use a galvanized steel. Thanks for the live event today. Well done, you're doing. Run, Christmas party? Yeah, have a great Christmas, everybody. Celebrate on, man. Feliz Navidad from Nicaragua. So yeah, if you can solve those basic things, you can find that you can live here so inexpensively. Like we've found a way to take a nice piece of property, it's beautiful, and give almost a fifth of an acre to each person that purchases on there. We're doing 10 lots with a 2-bedroom Radpad, which allows light from every single wall. It's important that you have wind from behind you. Like right now, I'm cut off from whatever's back there. Whatever nature is behind there, I don't know. I don't get to experience it. So with Radpad, there's access to nature in every single wall. There's only one solid wall in the building, like one wall without any windows or airflow passage, and that's between the bathroom and the kitchen. Everything else is designed so well that it's mosquito netted in perfectly in every single way. It's got 10-foot high ceilings in every room, ceiling fans, LED lighting, solar system, big master bedroom, 4 meter by 4 meter, big inside deck area. So inside deck, it's like changed the game. By the deck used to be on the front of the buildings. We moved the deck from the front to the center of the house, but it still maintains full airflow, and it allows us to have airflow on all 4 walls of the bedroom, excuse me, 3 walls of the. Still a little bit of pneumonia, I should probably stop talking. 3 walls of the bathroom, 3 walls of the kitchen, and 4 walls of the inside deck all have mosquito netted windows that can open and close, full louver windows, so they give you 100% airflow. But what that does is it allows sound in, it allows the physical touch of nature, the wind, so that you can be in nature and you can know when the winds change. Like, it's important. I know I didn't think it was. In Canada, I lived in a box, you know, in a controlled environment 100%. I didn't know when the winds changed. Now, when the winds change, the energy changes, ideas change, everything changes. So the winds changing in the Radpad is important. The light changing is important. And when you don't have natural light, it's frequencies coming in, touching and affecting you. And when those aren't doing that, you're disconnected from nature. It's a fact. So more walls you have, the more disconnected you are from the wind, from the sound, from nature. I'm gonna end this with this. When my dad, he was a hard-working dude, and he was an entrepreneur, and he started a business, and he kicked some ass. It took him 28 years to build this business. When I was 28, he hit it big. Until I was 28, he worked his ass off. But when I was 28, his life changed. He made a shit ton of money, and it was all from the work that he had started from when I was like 8 years old. Whenever he would get in a big fight, you know, with my mom, and when he got back from traveling and like working on his idea and they were just stressed out, what she would say is, go outside and blow off some steam. You know, nobody ever said, go inside and blow off some steam. It's like, why do you go outside to calm down? Because you're reconnecting with nature. That's why. You go outside and everything's okay. So with Radpad, what we're doing is we're changing it up. We're making it so that you can financially live like you've never lived before, live in the world of abundance. And it comes from making a few life changes that reconnect you to nature, literally by every sense possible. And I've been doing it, and since I've lived in a Radpad, it has changed my life. The first couple weeks were like a bit like, wow, there's a lot of nature going on. But after I got in the rhythm of it, it was like I didn't need to sleep as much. I got way better ideas. I was more positive. I was more willing, more tolerant, more patient, I was more of a person because I was reconnecting with nature. So that's what Radpad's up to. That's kind of what I've learned, everything Nicaragua. Man, we've done some really good videos this year. It's been a blast working with different people, different formats for the show. 2024, you're going to see so many videos in Nicaragua. It's going to be amazing with our new system and process for contracting out our videos. It's going to be so good. I'm so excited. And thank you guys for watching it. I wish everybody a Merry Christmas or whatever holiday you're wanting to celebrate. whatever holiday it is, if it gives you the opportunity to go help somebody or do something for somebody else, that's awesome. Everybody have a great night. Adios, nos vemos. I don't know how to shut it off.